Joining me now is John Bailey, the Retail Industry Director for RedPrairie. John, who are RedPrairie and what do you do?
So RedPrairie is a solution provider primarily focused on retail. Our customers are retail of all different types, global businesses, local businesses. We also sell to retail suppliers, they're third-party logistics companies. Another area of focus is hospitality, so that's pubs, clubs, petrol and convenience stores, quick service and restaurants as well. What we try and do is we have a kind of mission which is really about making browsers into buyers, making buyers into loyal customers, and taking loyal customers and making them brand advocates. That's what we try and do.
So what do you see as the key influences to delivering a great customer experience in store?
So that's a really good question, and there are a number of facets to the answer. The first is really staff. That's a real difference that retailers can bring. So for instance, well-motivated staff is really important, but the right staff with the right skills available at the right time, that's something that we are able to provide in terms of our workforce management solutions. But it's not just about staff, it's also about products. We ensure that the product delivery, right from the supplier through the distribution centre, through into the actual stores themselves, is fine-tuned in order to get the right products in the right place when customers actually want. And I suppose the third area is around the brand and making sure that the retailers themselves act on and execute on their actual brand experience. So what I mean by this is, say for instance, it's important for retailers to serve customers like one in front policy, as we hear so often. Then they need to ensure that they have the staffing profile ready for that, and actually they're executing on that proposition. Alternatively, there might be some high-touch retailers whose brand is very important to be very personalised with a customer, and therefore wants to know what the customer's been ordering, and how they've been paying, and what they might want to order next. And that's very much the kind of solutions that we offer as well.
And what can the supply chain contribute?
So that's also an interesting one. Going back to those 3 points that I mentioned earlier, staff are also really important, in fact, in the whole of the enterprise and not just the store. So the available staff for transportation, available staff to actually pick all the right goods and actually be in the right place in the distribution centre. That's important, but perhaps more important is obviously the distribution of the actual articles themselves. So supply chain and products is clearly an important aspect to delivering excellent customer service right across the retailer.
So with customers using multi-channels to shop, what is the effect on the store?
We're finding there's a lot of interest from different customers, different retailers asking us about what they're calling multi-channel. In fact, what's really happening is that customers are wanting to browse on their computers at home, go onto social networking sites, perhaps even go onto their own mobile phones, and actually interact with retailers that way. Then they want to be able to choose and price and then buy on these devices, perhaps pick up in store, perhaps go to an in-store kiosk and actually interact that way. Now, if you think about that for a retailer, that's going to be really tricky to be able to take all of these different silos and actually then offer one single solution, and that's what we do. So as part of our all-channel solution, what we're able to provide is not just a web and social networking access through our e-commerce platform, but also mobile phone access. Now, actually, it's quite an interesting statistic that we came across the other day, that in fact in the top 100 UK retailers, only 1 out of every 5 actually have a mobile optimized website. Now that's actually really interesting. It gives us an opportunity to actually allow us to go and work with those other 4 out of 5 in order to really help them balance between their web and their mobile solutions. But it's not just about that, because let's face it, you'll also want to, in-store, look at exactly the same customer orders, exactly the same transactions that you've been able to perform online and on your mobile. And maybe when things necessarily may go wrong, you might want to call your contact centre and actually be able to see all of that same information. So actually, when it comes to in-store issues, there's a lot to actually look at and actually focus on the one platform. So that's really what we're seeing as some of the kind of real issues around being able to deliver essentially a brand, a loyal customer.
And what is the role of mobile solutions for retailers?
Initially, I think the industry first thought that it was all about trying to provide mobile solutions for the actual staff, for the colleagues actually themselves. And so this would be about improving the speed of things. So for instance, improving the speed of being able to move somebody from a checkout operation to a replenishment operation in a grocery type environment. And perhaps using a mobile solution to be able to move one person from one job to another, and that person then being able to accept or decline that request. So that's one example. So what we're finding is that because retail is getting faster and faster, the mobile solutions can actually allow us to speed up that process because it provides us with a two-way communication channels. But increasingly, what I'm also hearing is that retailers don't just want to take advantage of this for their own staff, but actually to help that customer experience, in order so that when, for instance, retailers do provide free Wi-Fi, that they can actually do that same type of shopping actually in the store itself, so that they can compare the prices, that they can compare that brand with other brands, and actually then start to favour what that particular retailer is doing. Perhaps even then reviewing the feedback that other customers have actually provided actually in the store itself. So a real role there is more directed towards the customer than it is directed towards the staff and their own facilities for accessing their corporate data.
So if anybody wants to find out more about RedPrairie, John, how can they do this?
Okay, the easiest way really is our website. It's full of some really rich information. We've got some white papers there, there are video case studies themselves that you can actually download. But the best thing really is to fill out the inquiry forms online at www.redprairie.com, and we'd be absolutely happy to get back to you and help your requirements.
Thank you, John.